looking back at the world from another level, you know what I mean?
Multiple gunshots, split a block, the fun stops. Niggas was calling cops, people shot, nobody stopped. I wonder when the world stopped. Cameron last night, 2 kids shot, while the whole block staring. I will never understand this society. But they try to murder me, then they lie to me. Product of a John Breed, all my homies try weed. Now the little baby's crazy, raised on Tennessee. Tell me when my enemies flee, when they see me. Believe me.
Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.
Good afternoon, urban intellectuals and those out there in web land. This is yours truly, Jalal Tariq, with the latest iteration of Real Talk with Jalal Tariq, who comes to you every day at the top of the 1 o'clock hour. Okay, well, somewhere around the top of the 1 o'clock hour, 105, 107, 102. I'll be here around 1, let's put it like that. So, as usual, we start our journey today with our usual request, where if anybody wants to help us and further us in our cause to bring awareness, to bring consciousness, to bring success to us and our people, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com, and for the low price of $24 a year, $2 a month, you can become a card-carrying member of Urban Intellectuals. Again, that's urbanintellectuals.com/members. And if you just want to donate to the cause, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate, and you can give to your heart's content. On the call with me today, I think I see, Terry's here. TV, say hi to the people.
Hey, what's going on, good people?
And my other usual partner in consciousness, I think Patrick's in the background. I don't know if he wants to say something today or what, but now he has something he wants to say about yesterday anyway. Patrick, say hi to the people if you...
What's up?
So, jumping straight off into topic number 1. I read a good article today about which states in America are most receptive to black businesses, and as it stands, the black person murder capital of the world, Florida, actually has like one black business for every 11. I think it's every 11 black residents or something like that. So it comes in at number 1. And I won't go down to the whole list. It's on the page if somebody wants to read it. But it got me to thinking, as a person who is a business owner, matter of fact, this is like my 4th different version of the businesses that I have ran. I was thinking to myself, a good question to ask is why is it so hard for us as African Americans, black people, Hebrew Israelites, brothers from the hood, Africa, whatever you want to call yourself, why is it so hard for us to start our businesses in America? And I want to dig a little deeper. I want to go below the usual black folks won't support black businesses, or it's hard for us to get loans. There's got to be other ways around that. There's got to be other reasons why it's so, white businesses are so prevalent and black businesses are so rare. So, with that, Terry, answer me this question, bro. All things being equal, why do you think it's so hard for us as black people to start successful businesses?
I think, first of all, it's the awareness of where the resources are to be successful in starting the business. So you have to know, if you're going to start the business, where do I get the resources? Where do I get a loan from? How do I go about acquiring this loan? If I wanted to write the business proposal, who can I talk to? What attorneys are out there that can help me make this happen? So a lot of times we have the idea just at the surface that, hey, I want to start a business. But underneath that, the actual inner workings of what it would take to get the business started, we don't have that knowledge. And so it's then difficult to start a business when you really don't know all of the ins and outs of what it's going to take. For example, there are some businesses that you can start in some areas where, you need to know a little bit about the political process of that particular city, because sometimes you're going to need a permit to get something built. You're going to need a permit to get something else done. You're going to need another permit to get something else done. And if you don't know anybody in the city, in the political spectrum, who can help facilitate making these things happen, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in, because the people that they've already done business with are the ones that are usually going to get the permits and get the grants and get the authorities to go ahead and move forward. So if you're new to the process, you're going to be, again, on the outside looking in. So I think it just comes down to, first of all, awareness of resources. Who do I need to connect with in the business community? What political people have the pull in this city to be able to get me a permit to start building my property and that kind of thing? So those are the things that we don't tend to know about, so it keeps us on the outside.
Okay. And that's a good start. That's a good basis for one of the reasons why we have so many problems, like you said, lack of information about what it is. But there's libraries everywhere. And anybody that thinks they're sophisticated enough to start a business that's beyond a lemonade stand should know that those things need to be dealt with. So why is it so hard for us to be able to circumvent at least that problem? Patrick, I'm going to go to you with this one.
I personally think that there are, and the problems are numerous. Believe it or not, this is actually something that my business, Think Free, Be Free Coaching and Consulting, was originally started to do, was to help black people start businesses, and ensure that the processes they installed in their businesses upon opening up would be proficient and efficient enough to, not become a problem later on. And one of the biggest problems we saw was just a lack of understanding about the business process in general, and a lack of forethought to go into the business. A lot of black people that go into business, and I'm not even going to say a lot of black people, because a lot of white people too, but there are a lot of different reasons why they can be successful without doing the legwork and we can't. Or they have a better opportunity, should I say. I won't say we can and they can. That's kind of oversimplification. But it's just they didn't really have a good concept of what business was, of what was going to happen, of the challenges they were going to face. Just our entire concept of business seems to be, I'm going to basically say I'm in business. I might file the paperwork, I might not. And then, I'm just going to, that's it. Like, people are just going to come and buy my stuff. And so there's just a lack of forethought of the different processes that you have to get involved in, the landscape of the business, the sectors you're going into when you're talking about business, just in general, there's just a lack of forethought in the planning process. And I think because we don't necessarily have, and again, when I say that, I'm talking about some of us. I understand there are others that are successful, but I don't think we necessarily have the correct viewpoint of the business process. And when you don't have that correct viewpoint of the business process, you don't go out and do the necessary research. You don't go out and figure out whether or not this sector is a good sector for you to be in. You say, okay, I want to be in the seafood business because I love seafood and black people love seafood. There are 32 seafood shops in the area. Why are you going into seafood? Why not look into becoming a distributor or becoming a wholesaler or, something along those lines to still get into the seafood business, but to be able to help the market that's already there and to be able to thrive in the market that's already there. We don't do that kind of research. So we'll just say, I want to open a seafood shop. So we'll open one right next door to one that's already there. So I really think it really boils down to just a lack of understanding about the business process. I did a video on that called Business is War about 7 months ago now. And I really, it's so true. Like, business is war. And if you don't understand that, if you don't understand the similarities between the two and how you're maneuvering versus how your competition is moving, then I realize I just went way off into left field. But this, like for me, this is such a huge topic. I love talking about businesses. I love talking about black people in businesses. But I really think it's just a lack of appropriate vision about what business is that keeps us from doing the necessary legwork, doing the necessary research. We don't really see what business is, so we don't really understand the importance of doing all of that work beforehand.
Okay, speaking to one of the points that you made, since you are an individual who helps individuals who want to maybe follow their dreams, because like the old saying goes, if you're doing something that you love, then it's not a job, it's not work. If you had to give me, I come to you, all I got is just some money in my pocket. If you had to give me 5 tips of how to start my seafood restaurant, and we're going to assume that ain't none around, what would those 5 tips be?
Research first. Research again. And when I say research, I mean figure out the history of seafood restaurants in your area. Why are there no seafood restaurants around? It might very well be because the people in your area don't support seafood shops. There might have been 10 in the last year, and all 10 of them are closed up. Why have they closed up? You know, what's going on with the fact that they're, like, for me, if there are no seafood areas in your shop and you are in your location and you want to open a seafood restaurant, that's a red flag to me. Why are there no seafood restaurants in your location? You mean to tell me nobody had the idea to start a seafood restaurant where you live? So, one, you got to research that. And in this case, if you're going into a business where there are no other businesses of that type around, that is step one. Why? Because there is no need of doing any other research if you find out the people in that area just don't support that type of business. Okay. So why? The next point of emphasis would be, once you figure out the why, it might just be blah, 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 blah. Now you used to go into traditional research. What type of permits will you need? What type of this will you need? What type of that will you need? Once you figure that out, you go into the next type of research. Well, figuring out where you're going to buy your products from and how much money you're going to need to get up and going. Figuring out what permits you're going to need, blah, 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 blah. Then after you do that, you go into the next set of research. How are you going to structure your organization? What's going to make you different? What's going to make you a viable option for people? How are you going to attract your market? Because you can't just say, I'm going to just be a seafood shop. No, you got to be, every seafood place has something different. The ones that don't stay mom and pop shops forever. And the fact that their mom and pop shops become what makes them different. If they stay on that long. So you have to do that. Then you need to get involved into, and it's sad to say, but as a business owner, you have to get involved into the local politics. You have to get involved into figuring out what types of, and this goes back into permits, but it goes a little deeper than figuring out what type of permits and things you need to operate. It goes into getting involved and meeting the people that are setting these things up. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people overlook when they start their business, but there is a lot to be gained from having a connection to the political world in your local area, especially when you're talking about going into business. Number one, you get insight as to anything coming down the tubes that might be affecting your business. And number two, you have a strong ally and a strong supporter who wants to utilize the fact that they have a friendship with you in their marketing campaign, their election campaign, And that might also give you some credibility and some free marketing. You might end up on a TV commercial or something like that. Obviously, that's a extreme, but I'm saying there is a huge benefit to getting involved in the political process on a social level before you go into business. Not saying you don't have the idea yet and you can't introduce yourself as a business owner, but that's something that I think we overlook as well, because every business that I've ever gone into, small or large, to help them refine their processes, they always have some sort of deep connection to the political world. Always. Like, not one single time did I ever walk into any business and they not have any connections to the political world socially. And the last thing, the last tip, after you've done all your research, and you have all the information that you need, and when I say all the information you need, not all the information you want, all the information you need, go and start your business, because that's the one final point that people just don't do. They'll do all this research, and then they won't do anything with it. So, and I know those might seem simple, but those are the 5 I would give. Research, 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 and then go do it.
Good points, because like you said, the road is littered with people who have really, really good ideas, but they sit on them until it's too late. Next thing you know, some guy that makes crab cakes just like them, he's got the business over across the street from where he wanted to start his, and now there's no point. Terry, let me jump back to you.
Okay. Well, first, can I give 5 points as well, or five thoughts?
But of course.
Okay. I thought about it as well, and I think you have to first have a solid business plan where you've thought out the process before you actually start to do the business. So I'd have a solid business plan first and foremost. The second thing that's most important to me is you have to have enough adequate capital of your own before you're going to start a business. I just think it's very difficult to go into a business, and you got $100 in your bank account, but you want to start $1 million business. That's going to be very difficult to do. So having enough of your own adequate capital is critically important in starting your business. The other thing is you need to have superior knowledge, not just average knowledge, but superior knowledge of the product that you intend to sell, because it's going to be important when you do your marketing to know your own product. So that's important as well. And the other thing is you have to have connections, which is where the networking comes in. You need connections with the distributors and the suppliers of your business so that you know where you can get your discounts. How can you go about getting something a little cheaper than what the mainstream businessman would do? So those connections are important. And the fifth thing is to have people in your business circle who have equal or superior knowledge to you. And this would include the people in the local city council who are going to help you with the ordinances and the laws that help you get your permits, and then the people who are in the construction business. Those people are going to be important to you as you build the business, as you need to have someone put up your drywall, as you need to have someone come and check your meter and make sure your electricity is running right. So that's really important as well. So those are my 5 things that I think you would need to have in place if you're going to have a business, in addition to the things that Patrick said, and particularly, research your product before you get started.
Cool. Good points. And I want to end the subject with this. Let's talk about funding. And to those who have never been to the Small Business Administration and asked for a loan, a lot of people don't really realize they don't just give it to you just because you got a good business plan or you got a good idea. In a lot of cases, they want to see what type of collateral that you've got to put up to back that loan that they're going to give to you. And the same thing with your small hometown banks as well, because there's really no sense in you going to a Chase or Bank of America, because the interest rates on that loan is going to kill you. You go to like a Mercantile Bank, one of those banks that you only know of maybe 2 of them in your town alone, and you'll have a better chance at success. Let's talk about funding. I know a couple of individuals that I'm fairly close to that came from Pakistan. And every single one of them that came over here, cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters, whatever, came over, started another business. Basically, their family backed them and, collateralized their loans and gave them the opportunity to actually open their business. Why do you think it's so hard for us to approach the SBA, to approach the bank and ask for these loans? Terry, I'll go to you with this one, and Patrick, you can end it.
Because it goes to the second point that I've made about if you want to start a business. You have to have enough of your own buying power. You have to have enough of your own capital to be respected when you go to the business owner. You know, I just cannot walk into the bank. I cannot go into the loan company. I cannot attempt to get a mortgage if I'm sitting up there with no money of my own. You just can't do that. And my mom doesn't have any money, and my dad doesn't, and my cousins don't, and then my other cousins don't. You know, you have to go in there in a position of power when you sit down with the man and say, I'd like to borrow $1 million. You know, you have to have your own capital. And it's just important to know that you're not going to be able to get that loan if you sit down in front of him. I don't care if you go and rent a $3,000 suit. When you sit down in front of him, after he gets to looking at how nice your suit is, he's going to know how much money you have. That's just fact, period. So you need to have enough of your own capital so that when you sit down in front of him and you say, listen, this is what I'm looking to get from you. I already have $1 million on my own sitting in the bank. But what I want to do is I want to use your $1 million because I'm going to have my $1 million for emergency resources should something happen in the business start to fail. But I need to borrow $1 million of your dollars. So your $1 million is the collateral to get the $1 million. You know, and then on top of that, I've got several family members who are going to invest in the business as well, which is what you spoke about when you talked about the guy from Pakistan and his family members backing him. We would need to have access to those same things. So you just have to have adequate capital of your own if you're going to try to go into a business and start it and then want to be successful.
Pat, bring it home.
I think when we start talking capital, we have to understand that there is a certain, I honestly don't know if they do this everywhere, but I do know in the two places I looked, which one place was in Florida and another place was actually in Delaware, the foreigners, the Middle Easterners that came over actually did have kind of like funding pools for themselves where business owners would put money aside every month for new people that might move into the community so that they would have money to open up their own business if necessary. And we've seen this in the Asian communities as well. And we can go into a whole host of reasons as to why black people can't get this concept down. We really could. But when it comes to funding, I think what's important to remember is banks and loan sharks and capital venturists and angel investors and all those other people, they also want to see that your product will move. They also want to see that you're already selling this thing and that it's not theory. I mean, your business plan better be just off the chain banging if you ain't moved no product yet and you already in front of them asking for money. Like your business plan, your product model, your prototype, because you're going to at least have a prototype. Just better be just jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, mind-numbingly wonderful. If you haven't moved any units and you expect anybody to give you any money. So that's where you go back to what I was saying earlier about just go and do it. Because if you have done it and you're moving units, you have some collateral, and even better, you have a proven track record that this thing actually sells. People actually want it. It actually moves. And so I think we have to start from the level of just doing it. If you go out and sell 100 units at $10 a pop, now you got $1,000 that you didn't have before. Now you have some collateral to go into the bank. $1,000 is not a lot, but you have some collateral to go into the bank and say, hey, can I get $5,000 to expand my business? I have 1,000 already. You know, so you can move it that way. But as to why we can't get ourselves together enough to for me, that goes again back to not really understanding what it is when you go into business. That, to me, that falls under the theory of not really understanding the whole concept of supply lines, because that's money, capital is another resource. It's just like your inventory. It's actually more important, because if you don't have no inventory of cash, you don't have no business. Not for too much longer anyways. So I just think it all goes back to not really having an adequate picture of what it means to go into business.
Okay. And those are all really, really, really good ideas. And we're going to, and as usual, like I always say, this is one of those shows where we will revisit this subject again, because what I would like to take away from this discussion is that there are those of us out here that have did the research on this, that have, thought about this in detail and want to do something different. And as you both mentioned, concerning other groups and that pool of finance that they have to basically back whatever idea that, one of the members might have, that's something that all communities should do. Because there was a recent article, I think it was in New York, about a group of individuals who lived in a small town, and all of them got together and decided to do their own grocery store because they were tired of having to drive out of town to get fresh produce. Gary, where I'm from, I don't know about if you knew about this, Terry, since it's been quite a few years since you lived there. Right there on Grant Street, where Grant and 25th Avenue come together, they built a brand spanking new Walmart-sized grocery store, supermarket as they called it, and it failed. It was, it was like a co-op. The people of the community gave up so much money. The state kicked in so much money. The city of Gary, gave tax breaks to the company to build a big old parking lot and to build a building and redirect the traffic. They improved the streets and everything. Everybody thought this building was going to be the bomb, and it failed. And I can't remember exactly what the reasons was, but I know it was lack of participation. Some people stealing some money. It was all kinds of crazy things that was going on as far as the co-op part of it. But it can be done. That's the point. It can be done. If you tired of having to drive 25 miles to go to the nearest Walmart, or if you want to go to IKEA, sometimes you got to go like 3 or 4 cities over before you find an IKEA. Open your own. Get together as a community and decide to do something for yourselves. So, like I said, we'll revisit this, at a later time. But I want to move on to topic number 2, and we got to get our commercial reloaded too. Another post that was put on the page today about retaliation. It's the usual meme where here's, I think it's a scene from Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, one of the two. 9 or 10 brothers in one car, all of them got a gun pointed out the window, and the basic thought is we'll retaliate against each other. I'm from the east side of town, you from the west side of town. You shoot one of my boys, I'll come over there like, the special forces or something, and we're going to kill a bunch of y'all. But when a person from another group, we're not even going to say white people, but when a person from another group or the police comes in and murders one of y'all, you so-called thugs don't want to, y'all don't do nothing. And I guess my thought processes go more along the lines of it's deeper than that. Because if you really think about it, the police kill white folks too. They will run up in a white person's house and murder them just like they murder us if that white person is poor. And they don't retaliate against the police either. So I kind of want to get you guys' thought about what y'all think about that. Is it true that all these Negroes in these gangs, as the meme would lead you to believe, are cowards when it comes to the police? Or is there other things at play? Patrick, I'm gonna let you start this one off.
Are the brothers that are in gangs cowards when it comes to dealing with the police? That's the basic question, right?
Yeah, basically.
The simple answer would be yes. Although we know the answer is, as you said, a little bit deeper than that, a little bit more complicated than that, the simple answer still remains yes. When you look at what gangs were initially started to do, as far as what I've been able to research, gangs were initially started to protect the community from all harmful influences, but particularly the police. And to see them now doing everything they can to avoid confrontation with the police, you kind of got to say, that's one of those things where you got to look back at it and you got to say, well, what's your purpose?
What are you here for?
And we all know that the purpose of gangs has been twisted and shifted, and so we get that. But it still remains, like, if y'all are the biggest, baddest dudes on the block, and you own your neighborhood, like you say, this is my block, this is my hood, but then you keep letting these foreign white people roll through doing whatever the hell they want, we gotta look at you like, are you speaking in metaphors when you say this is your hood? Like, is that allegory? Like, what exactly do you mean when you say this is your hood? Because this white man rolled through here in the blue uniform with his gang badge on, throwing up his signs and waving around his pieces, and he shot for us.
The rest of y'all ran.
Yeah, y'all ain't do nothing. So again, like I said, the simple answer is yes. They are cowards. And the reason why is they are afraid. Do they have reason to be afraid? Yeah. I'm not even going to take that away from them and say that, no, they don't have no reason to be scared of blah, blah, and they shouldn't be scared. No, of course they should be scared. Cops got bigger guns, and there's more of them, period. Ain't no gang out there can call for backup and have backup show up like the cops can. You just can't do it, period. I don't give a damn if all the gangs in America decided to come together in the truce to fight the cops. Guess who the cops got backing them? The goddamn military. You are not going to take on the police, period. So, of course, they have reason to be scared, and the cops have given us ample reason to be scared because the cops have shown that not only will they shoot you, but they are more than willing to call in their backup so their backup can shoot you. And we're not talking about shoot you with bullets, kill you on the spot. We're talking about shoot you with some crazy stuff, electroshocks that have you on the ground twerking. Bringing back the Harlem Shake. They got all of these microwave weapons, these sound weapons that can hit you from behind a building nowadays. They got all of this technology nowadays where you wish they would have just shot you old-fashioned with a bullet. So
they got drones.
Right. They got stuff that can shoot a missile through your window when you not even know it's there until the explosion is kicking off. So, it's just, I was reading about one police department in Florida that actually has Apache helicopters. Like, it's over. One Apache will wipe out every gang in Florida.
Pretty much.
So, so of course, we're going to say they're cowards. The answer is a little more complicated than that because you also have to deal with how the gangs have been shifted and twisted over time. But yes, they're cowards, and we don't retaliate against police officers for fear. I'm done. I'm done. I'm on now.
TV. Hit me with the real.
All right. Look, man, here's the real. In the gangs and in the hood, there's a certain amount of power that you possess because you got the gun and everybody knows, okay, y'all the gang. So there's a different set of rules in place in the hood. So if somebody shoots at me on the west side, I already know I'm going to make a call to you, I'm going to make a call to Patrick, and we're going to go ahead and go over to the west side, and we're going to let off a couple rounds because we already know nobody is going to come back at us with the same force that we go at them with. Whereas with the police, it's different. You already know there's a different set of laws in place. You already know there's a different set of rules in place if you attempt to go after the police. Because the way it's set up in this country is they've given them permission to shoot you. They've given them permission to gun you down and lock you up and hang you and give you the death penalty. So we know that going in. So it prevents you from wanting to take that next step because you already know that's pretty much a fatal decision that you're making. Whereas if we just decide to go over to the west side and shoot up somebody's house, we're not thinking the same way. This is a fatal decision. We're just thinking if they shot at us, we're going to shoot at them. It's a difference in the mentality of it all. We know that what the police are going to do, and we know what, Junebug them going to do. And I knew Junebug since he was little. He a punk-ass dude. So we already kind of know, it ain't gonna, man, let's go ahead and scare this. Yeah, we already, it's a different mentality going against each other, black on black, than it is in trying to go against an institution, like the police departments of the United States.
Okay, now, let me give my take on this. And for once, I'm going to disagree. And I'm going to disagree with both of you. Disagree with you, Patrick, for the most part. Disagree to a lesser extent than you, with you, TV. For one, it's a specious argument. Specious meaning, plausible, but, actually wrong. The reason why these individuals don't shoot the police is not because of cowardice. It's actually a fairly smart way of preserving your life. It don't make you a coward when you don't enter into a battle that you don't have a win in. That's what people is missing for the reasons that both of you guys outlined. You can't win that war with the police. Now, a lot of people get the wrong idea of gangs. And like I tell people all the time, if you've never played in the NFL, you don't know shit about football, pro football. You know about what is reported about pro football, but you don't know shit about the game because you never played it. Same thing with being in a gang. If you've never been in a gang, you don't know shit about gangs. You know what people say about gangs. People say that gangs are about indiscriminate killing. In some cases, that's true. In a lot of cases, that's true. But most gangs exist because of financial reasons now. Like Patrick said, they were first started self-preservation for the hood. Oh, that's good. Applaud that. And then as drugs became more and more prevalent, and the money that could be made off of those drugs became more and more prevalent in the hoods, gangs shifted to basically money-making type situations. Look at it like a colony of bees. All them brothers is running around with them rusty 38s and shooting at each other on Saturday night, those are the worker bees. They're there to move product. They're there to take care of the queen, and the queen is somebody that's protected by a wall of warrior bees. And those warrior bees and that queen don't even live in that neighborhood. They get their money and they get their profits from the lieutenants who deliver it, yada, yada, yada. Everybody know how the game works. Well, you should know how the game works. Been enough movies, been enough books about it. But those individuals on the street, they're not going to start a war with the police, one, because they can't win, and two, because it's bad for business. For those who have never known anybody that's in a gang, and for those who have never been in a gang, you don't really realize that there are what you call violations that exist within those organizations, which means that if you bring heat on this block where we making money, you can get violated from that. A lot of the gangland killings that the police said, where the east side has killed this west side guy, is not actually a east side murder. It's actually a west side murder. Because Jalal decided he was going to do something stupid because some dude bumped into him at the club, so he shot him. Now 2 or 3 other people then got shot. Now the police and the gang task force and everybody's in our hood. Now we can't make no money. We got to sit on our drugs. Guess what? Jalal might end up dead because the queen, King Bee, whatever you want to call it, might send down orders through the ranks, take care of Jalal. because Jalal just cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's deeper than just saying, oh, man, they's a bunch of cowards. They ain't going to do nothing against the police. Ain't nobody going to do nothing against the police. How many people rose up when they went up in Waco and killed them people? How many white people rose up after Ruby Ridge or any other, law enforcement type military actions they have taken against white people? It just don't work like that. All these militias running around America, all these white dudes out there playing soldier in the middle of the woods some goddamn where, they ain't shot damn well. I can't say that because they got that dude they're looking for up in Pennsylvania, but he's crazy. You know what I mean? But for the most part, there has not been any major movements of any militias against the law enforcement agencies. They talk shit all day long on Facebook, just like we do. But they ain't going to move because they smart. They smart enough to know that, yeah, I got an AK-47, I got an M16, I got a carbine, I got this, I got that, but I don't have what they have. So it does not make sense. And it's against my whole purpose of self-preservation to actually start a war with the police. So I think it does us a disservice when we look at these young brothers in the hood that might be killing each other. And who's to say, hey, like I said before on the previous show, who's to say that a lot of those murders are actually committed by other black people? You see what I'm saying? Because for all of these murders that's happening, sure ain't nobody going to jail for it. Now, I could call Terry and say, hey, Terry, man, I got some bomb weed, dude. You need to, meet me out in front of Starbucks. You know what I mean? Meet me out in front of McDonald's. I go down to McDonald's and I give him a nickel bag. Do they still sell nickel bags? Anyway, I give him a nickel bag. And not only do you have it on film, you got it on film, you got the soundtrack, you got everything on a 5-second transaction where I just walked up to your car. Hey, what's up, bro? Gave you some dap, gave you some weed. You went your way, I went my way. But you mean to tell me that a car full of brothers could come around a corner in the most heavily policed parts of the United States and just start murking people, and don't nobody have a license plate number, you don't have a picture of the type of car it is, you can't figure that out. It's deeper than these superficial, silly little arguments that we put on Facebook and that we put on other forums. That all you got to do is just quit killing each other. Gangs exist for a reason. Poverty exists for a reason. Despair exists for a reason in the hood. And 9 times out of 10, it ain't got nothing to do with the people who actually live there. But,
well,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't really hear... I just hear you going deeper. I don't really hear any disagreements.
That they're cowards. That was my disagreement.
Oh, okay. You see, because I'm like, I hear him going deeper. I don't really hear a disagreement. So,
and I'm waiting to hear where you disagree. You agree with me, but where you disagree with me.
Because you never actually said the word coward.
Well, because it's not about cowardice. As I said, mine dealt with understanding the different rules that are in place. Like you spoke to that, and we all spoke to that. We know it's a different set of rules when we're in our own communities and how we deal with each other. Just like when we're back in the day, if it got to the point where I just don't like you, okay, we can do this 2 ways. We can go ahead and fight this out, just me and you privately, or we can go and get everybody in the hood to come watch us. It's different rules. But we knew what the rules were going in, and when it comes to dealing with police, when it comes to dealing with the FBI and authority figures, we know there's a different set of rules in place that we cannot win that argument. We cannot win that fight. So that keeps you from getting into the fight. That doesn't make you a coward. A coward is if I challenge you to a fight and you run away and you just say, I'm scared of you, I don't want to fight you. That's when you could be labeled a coward. There were fights that I turned down. In the hood, because I just knew if you want to fight me, the only way to really do it is you got to actually just physically come up and hit me. Then I'll engage you. But if you just run in your mouth saying, hey, I'll fight you, okay, whatever,
well, Here's why I said cowardice, and I preface that with it depends on how you're defining the purpose of the game. if you're saying that gangs still have the same purpose they had, which was to protect the community, and primarily to protect the community from the police, and now all of a sudden they're doing everything they can to avoid confrontation with the police, even though the police are coming into the community and violating the community, then you can't not say they're cowards. They're not. You can't. Right? Yeah. You can't say they're not cowards. Like, if you're judging them by their original purpose, there is no way you can rationalize the fact that they're not cowards. The way I'm thinking about it, your purpose is to defend the community, particularly against the police. Cops come into the community, they shoot everybody up. You don't do nothing. Like, that's not even the police coming into the community talking crap and calling all of y'all niggas and hoodlums. That's the police actually coming into the community and punching you in the mouth, and you don't do anything. So that's where I say they're cowards. As to everything else, though, I typically, I tend to agree with a lot of the things both of you guys say. You guys were going to take that angle, so I wanted to take a different angle with the discussion. So, I've been in gangs. I've worked with gang members. I don't understand current gang culture because I understand things might have changed in the last 10 years. I'm pretty sure they have. They changed every 6 months when I was in a gang. So I understand things have probably changed a whole lot more over the last 10 years, and I don't know how long it's been since you guys have been in gangs, but I'm sure it's been a hell of a lot longer since I was.
Well, I've never been in one. I mean, I'm proud to say that. I knew everybody else on the east side and the west side that were in them. I knew the guys in One Way. I knew the guys in East Side Bleed. I knew the guys, every gang that was there. I knew, because the city's too small. You go to school with everybody. Come on. We know who chose sides when we were young as to who's going to be the ones that try to play hard and I'm tough. And we know which ones was like, hey, I'm if you want to challenge me, walk right up and challenge me. But I don't need to be a part of a gang to prove I'm tough. And that's the angle I always took. I've always been independent, even when I went to college. That's why I didn't join no frat. It's like I just don't need to be a part of a group to prove nothing.
You can't say frat.
Period. Again, that's everybody makes their choices. That was mine. And the same with gangs and anything else. I don't have to prove anything by being around a group of other people. What is that proving? Okay, everybody here is in this gang. So, okay, and, so no. I just want that on record. I've never been a part of a gang, even though I knew everybody else that was in them.
I think for me and for a lot of other guys, it wasn't, because I've never really been one to associate with a lot of other people, but in some of the neighborhoods we moved in, it was almost a necessity. Otherwise, you were getting in fights every day. You were, you couldn't necessarily go outside and just play with people or just talk to people, unless you were, and that wasn't a decision you made. That was a decision they made, that if you weren't going to be down, then you were going to be down. So I know for me anyways, and this was younger, by the time I got older and the times I did step onto college campuses and was approached by fraternity recruiters, I was never really interested in that myself. So I 100% agree with you on that. That's just, our particular ways of thinking. But when it came to joining a gang, it wasn't something that I sought out or anything like that. It was something that was, at the time, my little 13, 14-year-old brain, I wanted to go outside and play. I wanted to not be getting in fights every day. I didn't want people picking on me all the time. I was already extremely black with glasses. I got clowned enough. Now I'm getting clowned because I'm not part of y'all little clique. All right, whatever. I'll join the clique, so y'all leave me alone and I can go play outside. So for me, that's what it was. I'm not going to say it was that for everybody. Some people actively sought it out. Some people reveled in the lifestyle. I just wanted to be free to go outside.
It was a job for me. I'll go into it one day on the show. Anyway, I want to do this. We're gonna shift gears again, coming down to our last 5 or 10 minutes. Rapid fire. lightning round. Patrick, you up first. Since you was the last person to talk, you up first. And give me a minute on 13 cases of rape against Bill Cosby. Go.
13 cases of rape. He wasn't convicted of any of them, right?
Nah, just accusations.
Well, that's all I got to say about that.
What?
I mean, you know, Bill Cosby, I know he's the Jello man, this, that, and third, but I mean, hell, they even eventually got Michael Jackson. Bill Cosby ain't no Michael Jackson. So if they didn't get Bill Cosby after 13 cases, you know, I'm kind of, and I don't know the details. He could have settled out of court all 13 times. I don't know.
Well, I know at least one he did.
So, you know, that for me, that's kind of like, okay, anytime they want to get a black man for something, especially a black man in the public limelight, they don't try 13. They don't bat 0 for 13 unless, like, this brother might actually be innocent of all these cases. They had trouble coming up with some things. So that, you know, that's what I say about that. A lot of people, I've heard this, actually a lot of people using it to try to, you know, disparage or attack Bill Cosby, to try to say, you know, he's supposed to be such a wholesome role model and he was running around raping people. But again, if they batting 0 for 13, like, that's, you know, you kind of got to shut all that down.
Yeah. Terry.
Same question?
Same question.
I just think that, you know, people who are I look at it this way. You got wise people and you got fools. I think fools speak without knowledge. They don't even know what the situation is, yet they're jumping in and making allegations. So, you know, I don't know the situation. Nobody else knows the situation. If there were 13 women that he violated by forcing himself on them, I can't see how not one of those 13 women would have made that public enough to have brought the attention to light. So I'm not buying into it right now.
Question number 2. I just put it like this. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's all I'm going to say on it. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Not all the time. We disagree on that. People make allegations against folks all the time, but it doesn't make it true. You know, you have to have proof. If somebody violates me, you know, if you get violated, 13 women, not one is strong enough or says, I don't care, you can't offer me enough money not to let this be known or not to bring this public or not to go into and what about all the family members of these 13 women? So it's like I said, right now I'm just saying I until I see one of the women really actually come out and can prove it, it's just someone making allegations.
Well, okay, then let's look at it from this point of view, and I'll say this:
innocent until proven guilty. That's still supposed to be the law in the United States. You are innocent until that's what I said, supposed. But now somebody could just say you did something, and now everybody is believing it. Like the three of us, someone could say, I heard, you know, Terry assaulted a little girl, and you know, just because you just don't like me. And now all of a sudden you take that and you tell it to Kenneth. What? He did? Oh my God, I didn't know he was like that. And now you done convinced yourself that I'm a molester. And then you done told Patrick, and he's like, man, I thought Brother Terry was real, man. And he turns out to be a person. And now y'all, you see what I'm saying? You see how fast a lie and a rumor can spread? So what I'm saying is innocent until proven guilty, dude.
Okay, and all that's cool. But you also got to think about this particular, you know, perspective on the whole situation. How many people actually think Mike did what Mike did? Whether he did or he didn't is immaterial. There are those who are going to passionately defend him just simply because of who he is. When you nobody, and you challenge an icon, It's not just as simple as saying, I'm going to stand on mine, I'm going to make sure that he go to jail. It's not, I mean, we talking Bill Cosby here. You know what I mean? You talking in contemporary times, you talking about one of the probably top, I'll at least say top 10, but I'm thinking maybe top 5 most recognizable voices and faces in Black America.
Yeah, but, right.
Now, wait, listen. I understand your point. But what I'm saying is it's like all those women that Tiger Woods got with. It's like all the women, even though that was consensual, you know what I mean? All those women who went at R. Kelly. When you challenging an icon, it's not as simple as raising your hand and say he did that, because everybody ain't out for your money. Every time somebody say something about you doesn't necessarily make it a lie, just simply because you can't prove it. That's one of the problems that women have.
How could a woman who was raped not prove she was raped?
A lot of them said they were drugged.
Okay, but again, even if she was, her vagina area would be, bruised. You see what I'm saying? So, come on.
Like I said, if it was me, if they charging me, if they're pointing their finger at me, my black ass going to jail. You see what I'm saying? Bill Cosby's different. There's a difference when you going at an icon, and that's our minute on that. We'll come back to that if we want to talk about that. But next question, Patrick, did you see that brouhaha that UI Unchained got into on the page about the teacher who called the Jamaican students, supposedly called the Jamaican students the N-word after they objected to being called African American in class? Did you see that?
I saw the post and I browsed the comments. I didn't read it in depth. I just browsed. I read maybe 2 or 3 comments. I did see him in there knocking heads, banging stones or whatever, but I didn't really go into reading it.
Well, what the article says and what other ancillary articles that's been written around it actually says, and I think the news coverage did it too. I didn't have to watch the video, but for one thing, it's clickbait. The actual title of the article is misleading. The African American teacher did not call these 2 little girls niggas. She went through and gave them a social studies lesson, a lesson in civics and history of our people in this country. Because, they're 13, 14 years old. They really don't know. You know what I mean? When they was born, the average person who took part in the civil rights era was dead already. You know what I mean? So what she said was, okay, you don't want to be called an African American. You want to be called Jamaican, or you want to identify with that island that you come from. But back in the day, they would have called you a nigga. Would you have accepted that? And now they making this big old brouhaha. Substitute teacher can't teach there no more. Mama want to charge her with a hate crime and all kinds of old crazy shit like that, because now the cameras is on. You know what I mean? The microphones is in everybody's face, so everybody got an opinion on it. So now it's an opportunity. 2 little pretty girls, they got their face in the newspaper all across the country. And it's like a big old thing, but it's not really telling the truth about what actually happened. She just gave him a civics lesson, and she used the N-word. And now, there's a taboo against saying nigga. You got to say the N-word. People don't know
I
what
hate
that means. You know what I mean? What do you mean? The N-word? What, nice? Neighborhood? What N-word are you talking about? Come on, we know what you're talking about. 1 minute, Terry, give me. I said I was going to go to you, Patrick, but I'm going to flip the script and go to Terry.
No, well, on that, it just follows the point that we just made. I mean, you're supposed to be innocent until somebody can literally prove that you are guilty. And so right now, it just comes down to this lady was teaching a lesson, and she framed it in such a way that somebody took it out of context and now her job is in jeopardy. Just more ignorance on the part of people.
Patrick, 30 seconds.
I personally feel like, and I actually feel sorry for the teacher. She should have, obviously in this modern generation, with the way these kids in this generation think, they don't really want to even identify as black, much less African American, much less. I met a lot of Jamaicans that don't even want to identify as American or African. So, she stepped into a bad spot, and the country's going to take this opportunity to drag not just her, but all black educators, I think, through the mud. And it's kind of sad that these kids are coming up nowadays with no real knowledge of history. So, that's my take on it.
The same as that Denver situation where they're trying to make certain information not even be taught in schools. I mean, education in this nation is simply not even education anymore. It's just garbage because they want you to teach nothingness. That's what they want you to teach, nothingness, and that's ridiculous.
And with that, we are going to bring to a close another edition of Real Talk with Jalal Tariq. That's Real Talk for real people with real problems. I want to thank my usual brothers in consciousness, Terry, Pat, for coming in and giving me a hand and helping me out. I want to thank everybody that listened and those who called into the show and the thousands and thousands of people who listened online, because I can see every last one of y'all. And I hope that you guys join us again tomorrow. Again, at the top of the 1 o'clock hour, hopefully thereabouts, somewhere around 1, where we'll do this all over again. And as usual, I'm going to close my show with our usual exhortation. The revolution will not be televised, but it must be funded. So if you think that we're doing something that interests you, if you think we're doing something positive, and if you want to help move this forward, go to urbanintellectuals.com/member, and for the low price of $24, you can be a card-carrying member of UI. And if you just want to donate to the cause, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate, and you can give to your heart's content. And with that, until tomorrow, from me and all of my panelists, we bid you a good day and stay out of trouble. Talk to you later. Okay, we off air. You know what I hate the most about free conference call? Why in the hell do we have to go through so many different pages?